Author, Kshmendra. Description/comments, Kavimala 65. Bharatamanjari. Latest update, the 15th of October, 2022. Category, Gayata, Kshmendra. Location, _Gayata. File name, anugItABM.ix. Text title, anugItA from Bharatamanjari of Kshmendra. Send corrections to sanskrit@cheerful.com. Please help to maintain respect for volunteer spirit. Please note that proofreading is done using Devanagari version and other language/scripts. This text is prepared by volunteers and is to be used for personal study and research. The file is not to be copied or reposted without permission, for promotion of any website or individuals or for commercial purpose. The 15th of October, 2022. Are generated using Sanskrit. anugItA compiled by Kshmendra in the Bharatamanjari. anugItA from Bharatamanjari of Kshmendra. Document information. Sanskrit documents.org. Machine translated by Google. Patience. At the end of the story there is Kanzari. By the son of Pandu. They worship planes in the form of stars or hellish planets. 14.59. YYY. Why? Yudhisthira. Subhadravallabha said. Someone is living in a state of liberation. You hear this 14.55. Then, at the end of enjoyment, the womb is surrounded by old age. Surrounded by old age. Yitan Munimandalam 14.51. Development is a problem. Knowledge of the Supreme Artha, the knower of the Supreme Truth, who has been discarded. Let it be repeated, said Kesava, dejected. In this aggregate of untruths, the 5 elements of existence exist. Forgotten souls. Venus-like. Ashwamedha Dirtadiogo. Hemratnalatakant. Yuksava said 14.54. They change like a cycle. Of ego single essences. And by the sages and their brothers. Then the blacks. It's been said. At the end of the body, good and evil deeds. The rise and fall of happiness and sorrow. Forgotten souls. Leb. At the beginning of the war. Oh, you didn't hear it with attention, you didn't understand it, yet listen to this. Why? Animals from the association of action. YYY. Dermanandane. Subhadravallabha said. Why then he disappeared to see the work of the people and invited the whole assembly of sages. I have forgotten all that you have said. Understanding the delusion of being. In the past a Brahmin asked him about Siddha and he told him everything. It cannot be repeated. Bound by virtues. The soul enters the vagina, flooded with blood. 14.60. Then he was ridden by Krishna. They enjoyed themselves in the garden with pleasure. 14.52. Repeat that. Like a bird, the living entity remains in a cage. 14.57. Dhihanan. 1. Compiled by Kshmendra in the Bharatamanjari anugItA. anugItA from Bharatamanjari of Kshmendra. Machine translated by Google. Sanskrit documents.org 2. anugItA compiled by Kshmendra in the Bharatamanjari. YYY. First the yogi attains nirvana in the material modes of material nature, and then he attains the state of freedom from dependence and merges in the Supreme Absolute Truth. 14.66. Having said that, the senses, the mind and the intellect are remembered as his 7 flames, the objects are his sacrificial fire, the 7 priests are the enjoyers, and when he is killed all this is born again. Of the conquered senses, passion enters the air in the middle of the universe and reaches its confluence, just as crystal enters a hole in the ocean. 14.62. Increase. It is released. Asked by her. Agni Vaisvanara. Why? Why? Detachment from the union of pain from discrimination. As from the fibers of thirst fibers, by the mantra, I am not. All pervasive and inexhaustible. Yoth the bodies 14.70y. With the arrows of mystic power the king killed the mind, intelligence and other senses without reason. 14.73. Or as the fragrance of flowers. He's tightly attached. O son of Kunti, hear with attention this and other things for your own welfare. 14.68. Why? Pregnancy. Brahmadikshite y 14.65. A certain chaste Brahmaya woman addressed her husband in a solitary place. In the past, I was devoted to you. 14.69. Again 14.71. The 7 sense animals. Why? Just as water is dissolved in the abdomen of a mirror by the tips of its breath, so the heat of a fire dissolves in the sky when it is washed away. 14.61. What is born of what is growing. He perceived this true state of being, in this state of existence, as the inexhaustible self with his hands on all sides and pervading all. Why? Like the senses, the mind is pleased with the mind and with their mutual benefit at the union of the body. He runs away. Why? In causal instincts. Similarly the wind carries an inconspicuous movement like a cold touch within the garment. It doesn't dry out when it dries up. Why? The Brahmaya spoke to her with a smile on his face. Name is situated within the bodies. Why? Whole. Why? Why? The Siddha suddenly disappeared from the Brahmaya. Why? Nothing of this is his and the whole. And the whole. Machine translated by Google. anugItABM.pdf 3. anugItA compiled by Kshmendra in the Bharata Manjari. Why? Repeat. I should hear it. That ego is pierced by the play of the mind. Thus the knowledge enlightened by Brahma is accompanied by various demonstrations. By the teacher to the disciple. Therefore I have seen all this with an unattached mind. Bewildered, the great mystic Brahmaya addressed. Lord Kiya, who is this Brahmaya? Where is that bride? 14.78. Guru Abashat. Story of separation. When ignorance is freed from the duality of choice, the light of knowledge is born. 14.84. Lord Janardana ceased to possess all knowledge. 14.87. Whole. The Brahmaya, who had seen the truth, attained supreme proficiency. 14.77. Why? By all-seeing. This strange creation, which emerged from egoism, merges in that very cluster of flowers. In the dog's cloud. Why? This is described for the peace of the world. 14.86. This is the word of the husband. Why? Of the transformations of the differences of action. As. 14.82. Hearing. Kat Bharati, Brihaspati and other great sages. After 100 years of practice, he became an inner being. The supreme immortality Y14.85 freed from all knots. Having said that, the Father gave the Brahmin the objects of the senses. Geography. Whole. Of the three qualities. YYY. O son of Purta, you are my equal disciple. O auspicious one, your destination is always similar to mine. For you have been abandoned by the knower of the higher and lower worlds for the Sake of peace. Asked the disciple omniscient. Know that the fire of knowledge arises from the forest of Brahma. Dhananjaya. Why? Of the transformers of the difference of action. This feeling of living beings, although ever small, attains to insignificance. Enhanced by the fire of knowledge. Of slowly renouncing action. Why? Why? Hearing this, Arjuna. Spoken by Swayambhuva. 14.80. Why? Burning the poisonous tree of death. The poisonous tree of death. I am the teacher. Machine translated by Google. Please send corrections to sanskrit@cheerful.com. 4. PDF was typeset on the 15th of October, 2022. anugItABM from Bharatamanjari of Kshmandra. Sanskrit Documents.org. Compiled by Kshmandra in the Bharatamanjari. anugItABM. This is the Bharatamanjari by Kshmandra. anugItABM. Completed. Machine translated by Google.